Thank you. Can people hear me?
Thank you.
Yeah, it's working? Okay, perfect. Thank you, everyone, for coming, and thank you for joining us for what I hope is going to be a really interesting talk for Jack Daniel's. So I'm Laura McCarthy, the Senior Brand Manager for Jack Daniel's Flavours, and I'm presenting with Megan.
And hi, I'm Megan. I'm the Digital Marketing Lead at Brown-Forman for UK and Ireland.
Perfect. So today we're going to talk to you about Jack Daniel's. And it'll come as no surprise, I guess, that Jack Daniel's is one of the most loved and most valuable spirit brands in the world. When someone says Jack Daniel's, so maybe when you heard about the talk today or when someone mentions the brand, I'm sure you have an idea in your head already of what that is. So you might think it's a square bottle, you might think about the black label, you might think about Jack and Coke. Some of you might have had a Jack and Coke already. We've seen a few going around today. So you already have an idea of what the brand is. You probably already have an idea or an opinion about the brand as well. So you might love Jack Daniel's, you might love Jack and Coke, you might think it's a cool brand, but maybe whiskey isn't your thing. So all of those opinions are already formed, which puts us in a really interesting spot. So we're talking to you particularly about the Jack Daniel's Flavours portfolio today. And with a classic brand like Jack Daniel's, the challenge is a little bit different. So for us, it's about how do you launch a new brand like Jack Daniel's Apple, and how do you find new customers when everyone thinks they know you already. So Jack Daniel's as a brand has been around for 150 years. It's really iconic. So for us, when we're launching new brands, we have to be really mindful of the brand, the parent brand. We have to be really mindful of what we stand for. But we also need to carve out our own niche. We also need to stand for something ourselves. And we need to be relevant. And that's a really interesting spot that we find ourselves in. So going into this campaign, we knew that awareness wasn't going to be an issue for us. I mean, I'm assuming most people here will have heard of Jack Daniel's and you know who we are. So not having an awareness issue, it means that we have to actually challenge the assumptions that people already have about our brand. So we really wanted to focus on driving that consideration element as part of the campaign. At Jack Daniel's, we're really proud of our liquid. We know that it's one of our biggest assets. So we know once people try it, they're going to love it. So how do we have a marketing campaign that's really challenging people's preconceived assumptions and also driving them to consider and actually try the liquid itself? So at Brown-Forman, we work with a globally led, locally infused marketing model. So for us, when you're driving awareness, we can really lean heavily on the bottle, and a lot of those assets work well worldwide. But when you're trying to drive consideration and trial, you need to be really relevant to the local market. So we really needed to develop some content that was relevant here in the UK. We also wanted to have some really strong data-driven proof going into this as we're creating these assets, so not just relying on opinion. And then, of course, we're a business, so we wanted to drive better media value. So I'm going to hand over to Megan to talk a little bit about how we went about this challenge.
Thanks, Laura. So I'll take you back about a year and a half ago. And I just joined Brown-Forman working in the dark side of media agencies. So it was a big jump to move to client side. And we sat in a meeting room with all of the kind of leadership of Jack Daniel's, all of Jack Daniel's Flavours, the super premium range, all the different markets, etc., trying to work out what would be the best copy for us to run in our new creative. And I kid you not, we then spent about 45 minutes working out if we could use YOL in an advert in the UK. I was very, very resistant, and I refused. And the US, we were trying to work it out. How could we communicate a better message? And I will say, the German team turned around to us and went, how do we have any chance of communicating Jack Daniel's even if you guys are speaking the same language, you can't even agree? So we really had an issue with Jack Flavours in terms of how do we communicate the right message and how do we make sure we're choosing the right theme of message to communicate the right brand identity. So we turned to automated creative, a creative effectiveness platform to really use AI to work out what would be the best creative theme and messaging theme that could work best for Flavours. And this kind of stemmed from, I think, a fundamental issue that exists within choosing creative that you want to run in your media. We often have a big global, usually TVC ad that you have to adapt or create at a local level, and then you're pushing out to lots of different channels. And you're not entirely sure what part of the messaging is really resonating with the audience. It could be anything from a lifestyle image to are the characters that you're choosing in your ad working for you? Is the product shot that you're using right? Is the overall theming and look and feel right for those consumers that you're trying to target? And it was a very linear process where you're really thinking of, you push this ad through these platforms, and then you're trying to work out what works through different messaging points. So we turned to automated creative to create a more loop-like process in terms of how we're testing our creatives. So we took all of the different themes and ideas that we wanted to test in terms of the asset, and we pushed it into different channels, so Snapchat and Meta, and then we worked out across a period of over a month which assets were working best on these different platforms. And then we would then take those best performing assets and re-put those through the loop and really test on the different platforms what worked best for us. And there was a number of different assets. I mean, there's a few up here that you can see. And there's a few different touch points that we were really trying to work on and really trying to understand when approaching this liquid. For instance, we were testing whether people liked honey flavor or apple flavor, whether people were interested in the serve, whether people were interested in the lifestyle versus product shop. There was hundreds of different messaging themes that we were trying to understand. And it was really a bit of a minefield as to how to work out what was performing best for us. So the result of this test ended up being that we got a real great insight into the overall theming that worked for us and what resonates with our consumers and what messaging works best for our consumers. So, are you ready for a quiz? Yeah? Excitement. Which of these themes do you think worked best for our audiences? So, serve education, apple and lemonade, range, which is the product of apple and honey, refreshment messaging, or an occasion messaging. Raise your hands if you think it was serve education. Wow.
Oh, wow. Person. Okay, you guys knew more than we did going into this.
How about range? Few hands. Okay. Refreshment.
Yeah.
A lot more message. Okay. And lastly, occasion. Oh, okay. It seems occasion. Well, I can reveal you're all wrong. It was actually a theme that we were going after, which is non-whiskey drinker. So we know deep down Jack Flavours is a drink that can kind of convert the new to whiskey. Jack Daniel's has got such a brand that's known and it's such an iconic whiskey that sometimes people are immediately turned off at the idea if they don't like whiskey. And Flavours really bridges that gap for us to enable us to appeal to those who maybe don't normally drink whiskey. And this test essentially allowed us to confirm that those non-whiskey drinkers are the ones that are most engaged with our assets. And therefore, Flavours is really meant to be bridging that gap that maybe the gins and the vodkas play in terms of that flavoured spirit and really how we can play in that space.
Amazing. So we had 3 really interesting insights that we took away from this work. There was a lot. The deck was absolutely massive when we got it back from Automated Creative. But we really distilled it down to 3 interesting insights. So as Megan mentioned, we uncovered this new territory. It was something that we hadn't really gone after in the past. Like I mentioned at the beginning, you probably have an opinion of Jack Daniel's. Most people hopefully think it's quite cool, but either you're a whiskey drinker or you're not. And we really wanted to go after those people that knew Jack Daniel's, thought it was cool, but maybe felt that whiskey wasn't for them. With Jack Flavours, we're a lighter spirit drink, so we were really in this kind of niche area. So going after this was a really great insight for us. We also understood that different messaging lands on different platforms, so that what performed on Meta wasn't the same as Snapchat. And again, having this data is really invaluable to help drive that media value. And through these 2 elements, we were also able to understand that serve-led messaging, which we had been really going with beforehand, obviously you guys knew maybe a bit more, wasn't really working for us anymore, so we had to make that change. And then finally, in terms of visuals, we were very, very thankful that it was consistent across all platforms, so that makes our jobs a little bit easier. But it was really leaning into these occasion-led lifestyles. That imagery was kind of what was preferred and what was landing best. And again, previous to this, we had been really leaning on the bottle and driving that awareness of Jack Daniel's. So these were some really interesting insights that we had. So aside from having these kind of groundbreaking insights that we were able to get from Automated Creative's work, we also improved and overperformed versus all of our benchmarks on our media spend across Meta and Snapchat with our media partner Spark, who worked really well with Automated Creative. So it was a really aligned approach. And to have this result was just amazing. Remember, this was just a pilot. We were the first people to bring this to the business. We weren't really sure how it was going to go. So to have this result and the insights was absolutely incredible for us. So we didn't stop there. So even though we started this as a digital kind of campaign, we had these insights. So what did we want to do with them? And, working on social and digital, we're able to, it's a little bit of a more cost-effective source of media. Out-of-home is a really big part of our media campaign as well, and you can see here as an example of what we used to go with for our previous out-of-home campaigns. So really focusing on the serve, really leaning in on the awareness piece with the bottle and getting that message across. So we've taken all of those insights around occasion, around lifestyle, leaning in with taste-forward cues, and we've created this new out-of-home campaign for the UK, which we absolutely love. And we went live with this last Easter. So this is going to be kind of our new visual moving forward for the rest of the summer. But we went live with this at Easter time. And as you can see, it's a massive step change from where we were before. And we were able to do some testing on it as well. So not only do we have the insights from automated creative and that it works on digital and social, we also have these insights now where we know that by optimizing our out-of-home, we have been delivering best-in-class scores within Brown-Forman for attention, engagement, enjoyment, and recall. So again, we're able to bring the insights from one channel across our entire media campaign to drive that effectiveness. So we've been really, really pleased with these results, and we know that this is just going to be an amazing campaign for us moving forward.
Yeah, and you can probably see from my label that we work for Jack Daniel's, but we also are part of a parent company called Brown-Forman. Those who might not be familiar with Brown-Forman, we own brands such as Jack Daniel's, but also Woodford Reserve, Gin Mare, Diplomatico, and a number of other brands as well. And what we've been really trying to do within Brown-Forman is, over the past couple of years, there's been a creation of a new team, which I exist in, which is called the IMC team, which is essentially a focus on media efficiency and effectiveness, and how we can really push our media to be performing best for us, but also making sure we're delivering the right creative message to the right consumer at the right time. And this automated creative test really allowed for us to roll a lot of the results that we had with the Flavours activity out across a number of our different brands, really driving that efficiency. So with Flavours, for instance, it was really about how we used our new theming to understand how we could communicate with new drinkers. Last year, we launched Bonded and Triple Mash, which is an excellent liquid, so you guys should go out and have a try of that. And we really used a lot of automated creative theming and testing to enable us to understand what would be the best performer in terms of messaging theme across multiple different markets. So when you're launching a premium whiskey, it could be around the taste, it could be around flavour notes, it could be about product, it could be how it's made, the awards it's won, and what message works best across what market, and therefore how we can be more efficient with our messaging. Next, we've launched our Make It Count creative, and within the IMC team as a whole, we're really trying to think about how we can test creative before we're putting it out there. So how are we testing the theming that works before we, say, launch a big TVC ad or a big out-of-home ad? And that's what we're starting already to do with our Make It Count assets that will be going live later this year. And lastly, we have this globally added, locally infused creative. And one of those things that comes out of that is lots of different toolkits across different brands. And this kind of messaging testing really helps us fuel and feed into those toolkits and make sure we're driving the best creative messaging that then goes out across the different markets. So we're really excited about the results that happen with automated creative. It's a real step change for the way that we are approaching messaging and creative and how we talk to our consumers at Brown-Forman. And we're really excited to have presented to you today. Just a little plug, you've probably already seen this, but the Automated Creative are holding a pub quiz in Barkick at the end of the day today. We will all be there to, if you want to come over and talk to us. We're really interested in seeing what you guys have to offer. We're really open to new opportunities here at Brown-Forman, particularly in the digital marketing space, and we'd love to have those conversations with you. So thanks very much.